one of the things that Republicans have tried to do is paint Joe Biden as extreme on immigration, but Democrats were in part able to neutralize that because of the rhetoric that Trump was using around immigrants, the separation of children, that was viewed as extreme, right? This was something Trump said over the weekend about migrants that I just want to show, and we'll ask John about whether it matters. This is him talking about an idea, Donald Trump talking about an idea he apparently had for undocumented migrants to the country.
Dana, I have an idea for you to make a lot of money. You're going to go and start a new migrant fight league. Migrants, only migrants. And then at the end of the year, the champion migrant is going to fight your champion. And I hate to tell you, Dana, I think the migrant might win. That's how tough they are.
So, John King, just briefly on this, I mean, Republicans have gained ground on immigration. There's no way around it. But this is kind of Trump's way of talking about it. Do you view that as something that's going to turn off the people that you talk to every day?
I think it's a great question. Number one, on the policy, this has been the quicksand of American politics for 25 years now, and there's a huge problem, and it'd be nice if we could get everybody in the room to actually have a policy conversation. However, when you get to that, the Trump people will say the Trump people will say he's joking. Yeah, this is one of the things where they say he's joking, he's just throwing something out there, he's having some fun, and his base loves fun. Yeah. Get over it, Washington. Get over it, mainstream media. You know, this is just him having fun, right? That's the way they describe it. But you're right. There are some people out there who, you know, is it Christian to speak ill of immigrants? And so there's a space out there where some people who are probably going to vote for Trump or inclined to vote for Trump kind of get the ooh.
Yeah, the Pope would say no. It's not.
And then can Biden turn to his own base again, which has some enthusiasm issues, and say, look, you know, you may not love everything I'm doing, but that's what you're going to get if you don't come out to vote. This is a remarkably consequential moment for both of these men. If you look at this, Charlie Cook of the Cook Political Report about 2 weeks ago wrote a great article about how this has been the most static race of his lifetime, right? And you haven't seen big swings in the polls. Often as you go through the summer, you know, candidate A proposes something and the polls swing 3 or 5 points. Candidate B returns to that and the polls swing back and forth. This race has been remarkably static, right? Slight advantage Trump. Biden's come back a little bit after the convictions. Why hasn't it moved? Because so many people are unhappy with both choices. So it's not like they're going to jump back and forth a lot because you're just like, If you're soft for Biden or soft for Trump, you're like, But I would argue from my travels that just beneath that static are all the ingredients of volatility. There's economic anxiety. There's the abortion question. There's the character of Trump issue. There's people who just don't have a North Star of where we're going in this economy right now. And there's a lot of COVID hangovers still that people are processing. So beneath the level static race is a ton of potential volatility. The question is, which candidate can find an issue that moves people? That, to me, is the big challenge for this debate. It's an early debate. They're not even officially the nominees yet, but they do have a chance to take something that has been incredibly static and move it. The question is, who figures that out?
So we're gonna take a little break for some humor here, and it plays quite well into what John was saying, which is that people have been very unhappy. The race has been static. There are some that feel like their choice is like this.
I learned that I better get used to having to pick between a douche and a turd sandwich because it's usually the choice I'll have.
He's going to vote! He's going to vote! He's going to vote!
That callback was from when George W. Bush was running against John Kerry in 2004. And we have it thanks to a Wisconsin voter who is one of those so-called double haters, voters who don't like Trump or Biden and who are likely to decide the outcome this fall. The douche and the turd sandwich, that is what I'm reading, that is what I feel like it is, said small business owner Kate B. in the Washington Post. Which is less bad? I had forgotten about that.
Are you asking?
By the way.
Can I go back to kale or broccoli?
I like both kale and broccoli.
The Biden sandwich, without a doubt, because Biden doesn't risk killing the whole world with the press of a button.
Well, what I would say a little bit, I think, to John's point, it is remaining static a little bit. I think what I took a little bit from what Caroline said with going to Detroit, going to North Philly, there is an effort, I think, from the Trump team to at least in kind of a little bit under kind of noticed way, try and break out of that a little bit, trying to get African Americans, specifically African American men who are less static. A lot of these voters they're targeting are low propensity voters. They don't vote every single election, right? They maybe vote 1 out of 4, 2 out of 4 election cycles. So I think that is a way to kind of break out a little bit of that staticness. And I think that is where they hope they can make it up some ground, especially with some of these Haley voters that might go against Trump.
Their expectations is really pretty bad. I mean, let's be clear. a debate is an argument. A debate are two people going at it. Donald Trump has been preparing for 78 years. This is not about whether someone has been doing it in plain sight or not. They have now said that Biden is going to win because he's taken a shot of something in his ass. That
I don't.
that
Do we have to bleep that word?
ass? Well, you made me choose between. You made me choose between.
Only the third time.
How am I supposed to
Only the
know
third
between what's acceptable and what's not? You know, and it's crazy when they hit the stage. It's going to be a clear contrast, like it was 4 years ago, and I do think it's going to shake enough people who are maybe unhappy as hell about their choice, but they know they need to make one. The thing is that we're going to have this conversation 20 more times between now and November.
It's so weird. It's not even July yet. We're having the first presidential debate. It's so weird. It is not used to it. And I think, look, we don't have another one of these leaks scheduled to September 10th, I believe, somewhere in that area on ABC. So there's a lot of gap between now and then. It's a very, very big moment.
Yeah.
You have the current president of the United States, the former president of the United States. So the expectations debate to me is just silly. You have two men who have sat in the Oval Office, have had to deal with these crises. They should be prepared to stand there and make their case, whatever the issue. One other question I will add, there will not be a third-party candidate on that stage. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. did not qualify. This, to me, is a lot like 1992, though. You do have a large slice of the electorate so unhappy, they're willing to at least look at third-party candidates. Can Trump and Biden convince them, don't do that, stay with the two of us? Or after this debate, do people still not like them enough that they continue to look at the third-party candidates on a state-by-state basis? We don't know the answer yet. Which candidates makes which battleground state ballots? Do they spend any money? Where's the fall? But that's still a potential wild card. This is a big moment between the two clear frontrunners in this race. But one of the other questions we have to keep in mind, even though there's only two candidates on stage, Philippe can tell you the third-party candidates can have a big impact.
The biggest difference between 2020 and 2016 was that there were no third parties. Jill Stein took enough in 2016.
Well, and again, just for viewers who may not kind of realize where you're coming from on that, I mean, when you were working with Hillary Clinton
Michigan,
in 2016, in the swing states, right, there were third-party candidates on the ballot, and you guys were very acutely aware of their impact.
In the margin, and with RFK, it's confusing because you don't know who he's taking votes from or who would flee to him and who it redounds to. I mean, there was this Mr. Mellon person who gave $50 million, I guess, to Donald Trump. He had given $25 million to RFK. There's such an overlap there on, vaccine denialism and other stuff that Donald Trump seems to be afraid of RFK, but just because he's not on the stage doesn't mean he doesn't exist.
If I'm Trump, I loop in RFK into some of the attacks on Biden. I try and lump them together a little bit because, look, rightly so, I think Trump and his team view RFK as a threat in some of these states.